So I'm going to welcome you to the icon creation in Adobe Illustrator. And my name is Chana Messer, and I am an Adobe certified instructor and artist. And I'm using Illustrator from day one. So I'm kind of like an Illustrator crazed person. I use also Photoshop and InDesign, but Illustrator has a special place in my heart, and I use a lot of the stuff there. So some of you, two of you were yesterday in the class, so some things you remember that we did the pen tool and we did the curvature tool and things like that. Today, actually, we're going to start from different area, and then we're going to look at the Pathfinder, and we're going to look at how you create some object without knowing how to draw maybe, and how we're creating all kind of stuff and filling it, and maybe even drawing some stuff without even tracing it. And then we're going to create few icons together that I have here, so we're going to trace it, and then I can guide you through the tracing. But if you come up with a different idea, that's okay too. So the way it works a lot of time with Illustrator, and like yesterday, like anything that you see even here on the screen, that could be even becomes like an icon or something like that. And these guys are just the welcome screen that we have here. So I'm going to go into file. How many people have my files? Good. Did you have it? Did you get them?
No, I'm having trouble getting into Illustrator now.
No, it's just like, I mean, these are the files though. On the you're just going to go to the desktop. So you have the files there?
Yeah, so I select creating symbols.
Yeah. Creating icons.
Yes.
Yeah. So the first thing I'm going to show you what we have there in terms of the files, and these are the files that I have here. I do have a handout for you guys if you need to go and look at the handout. I do have something called Live Paint, and we're going to look at that as well. We've started with the Pathfinder. We're going to create some symbols, and then I have for you some templates as well that you can see there. There's already some icons, and you can look at them and then see what does it mean, icons. And I downloaded it from Illustrator to start with. So if you go back to your templates and maybe go into, let's say, UI icon set, you can see here I'm getting here icons that they were done in Illustrator. And you can actually use a lot of them, but you see each icon is basically in a different kind of artboard. So one of the things that you can do with Illustrator is create as many artboard as you want, and once you create that, you can actually export it as a separate images. So you're using your artboard for a presentation or a PDF file, but also you're using it for creating some other stuff. And if I go in here, you can see the width and the height of this icon are 32 pixels by 32 pixels, right? So we're going to look first at some stuff, how to create things, and then we're going to go back to this file and learn how to export it and how utilize our artboard as well. So the first thing you want to do is File and New. And you can see here, this is a generic dialog box. This is the new dialog box for 2018, and gives you already samples for mobile if you want, for web, for print, and for film and video and art and illustration. If you don't want to see this kind of dialog box, you can go all the way down and see it says more setting. Do you see all the way down? And if you click on that, this is basically the old dialog box. They call it the legacy dialog box without a bunch of pictures. And it's a little easier sometimes to start a file directly from here. So we're going to go in and just going to call that shapes, because we're just going to look at shapes to start with. And then asking you how many artboards would you like to do. So let's say we are going to do for now, let's say 4 artboards. When you start with artboards, all of them in the beginning are the same size. I cannot say one will be this and one will be that. Later on, you can change the sizes. In the beginning, it's just global. So I'm going to decide if I want to do it with points. And let's say I'm going to do it inches. And let's decide not to do it very big. Let's do it 5 by 5, kind of a square icon. The good news about it, we're going to make bigger icons, but then later on, you can make it smaller or bigger because Illustrator, as you know, is resolution independent. So I'm going to go in and create a document. And basically, this is what I got right now. I did CMYK. If I wanted to go in, and actually by mistake I made it RGB, I can go back here and I'm going to go document profile. I'm going to do CMYK. Either or, you can choose an Illustrator if you want CMYK or RGB, and depending what you are designing for. If you're designing for the web, you can stay with RGB. If you're designing it for print, you might want to go in and do CMYK. But like now, look at this. I have 4 artboards, and maybe I don't like the way I put it in there. So I'm going to go to my artboard tool, artboard panel. And where is the artboard panel? At the moment, because I didn't use Illustrator since yesterday. Remember, I worked with some of you, and we were in the layout. I'm going to reset my layout workspace, and I'm going to see all the way down. I have the artboard panel. And I'm going to bring it all the way here. In this version, you can do 1,000 artboards. Don't ask me why I need 1,000 artboard. I don't think I need that. But you can do up to 1,000 artboard in Illustrator. It's not pages. You do not want to do a book with 1,000 artboard and then go to the printer, because the printer is going to kill you. Because it's going to be completely a crazy file. If you do that, you do that in InDesign for layout. So basically, it's for presentation, prototyping, icon making. I don't like, let's say if I don't like the way it is on my screen right now, I can go to the flyout menu and I can say rearrange all artboards. And they're asking me, how do I want to rearrange it? I want to arrange it with one straight row. And I want to change the spacing between them to maybe 1 inch. And I'm going to go and click OK. And now look at it over here. Maybe it's going to be easier for me to start working on it for now. I can name every artboard and can do stuff. So I'm going to go to the first artboard. And I'm going to zoom into it. And then the way you work with artboard, once you're with the artboard tool, you can make the artboard smaller or bigger. You can move the artboard, but you cannot do any art on it. There's no art. Art is done with the other tools. So what do we want to do right now? Maybe we want to look at objects, and after looking at the object, we're going to create different kind of object while using them. Because remember, you asked me yesterday how to do a heart or other stuff. What if you wanted to do, let's say, a moon, and then inside the moon have an icon and do something to it? You can draw that like we did yesterday with the pen tool, but we can use other tool to cut and do stuff. And that's what we're going to look at right now. How we can go cut and mess up everything that we have from one little symbol that we have. So I'm just going to go into I'm going to click here on the rectangle tool, and I'm going to go into my regular rectangle. And then I'm going to click and drag on the screen to create a rectangle. If I hold on the Shift key, I'm making it into a square. If I don't hold on the Shift key, it is going to be a rectangle. I'm holding on the Shift key, and I created a rectangle. I'm not sure yet what I want to do with it, but maybe I want to do kind of a shape right now. So first of all, I might fill it with, let's say, orange. And you see now, you do have the dots over here. Do you see them? What if I don't like the way this one looks and I want it to be round shapes? So if I click on this circle here, and click and go inside, look what I'm going to start doing. I'm going to go in and have a round, like corners over here. While I do that, if you are bringing out, how many of you are on 2018 already? You're on the latest software, right? Which one? You said you are in. Yeah. But I can go in either to my properties panel, which going to be only for 2018. Or, but if you don't have it, I might go in and bring in my transform panel. That's everybody has. If you don't see your transform panel on the screen at the moment, go to window and go all the way down and bring your transform panel. Look what you have over here. Sometime when you open the transform panel, it looks like that, not with all the information. You're going to go to the flyout menu and say show options, and there's more options over here. Here we're going to look at few things, and that helps us to do only the objects that we're working in. First of all, these are, yes. Yeah, once I did that, do you have the look the dots there? I'm gonna go in and see. While I'm doing it, you see it's registered here in your transform panel. I can go all the way back and have it here. So one way that you can do here, you basically can unlink the area in the transform panel and go into one only. Do you see now all of a sudden I have another shape here that can be part of kind of an icon, and it doesn't look anymore like your rectangle, right? And then I can go back to this guy and then maybe go back and do that. And then I can go to each area that I have, and I can go in and play with the stuff that I have here. But another thing that I can do here, which I usually don't like to do, is I can do it manually. What does it mean? I'm going to deselect. I'm going to go to it again, and you see I have the round corner here, and I have the round corner here. And at the moment, it exceeded the corners, and it doesn't let me do it anymore. So I'm just going to go in and do it all to 0 again. What if I wanted to do one corner at a time and not look at the transform panel? Because as a designer, sometimes the numbers mean nothing, right? So I'm deselecting, and I'm going to go to the direct selection tool. And now look what I'm doing. It's not selected. You click and drag a marquee around one corner only. And then go to this little symbol and now go in and make that round. Then you can go into this corner and go in and make that, bless you. So all of a sudden, could be a beginning for a base, for an icon for me to do something. And what am I starting from? Just a simple square. I'm going to go to this area and I can go in and do stuff like this. Go to this area and go move it. If I decide that I wanted them to be perfect, I can look at the numbers and then change the numbers to make it exactly accurate. Does that make sense? But just to alert you, could be a situation that you're not seeing this little dots at all. And that's not because you don't have it, it's because somebody turned it off. Under the view menu bar, you can go and hide corner widget. Do you see that? And if I was hiding it, let's say yesterday for a job, because I didn't want it, I forgot about it, you can get actually crazy, start working and say, where are they? So always look under the view menu bar, because this is, I call it the hide and show. Because you show them and you hide them. But if I was hiding it yesterday, nobody will turn it on for me. So I can go in and show corner widget. When do I hide it? I don't know if you remember yesterday I did something when I have something very, very small and I want to move it and I have bounding boxes, maybe you want to hide your corner widget. Sometimes also when you draw a lot of stuff, it will bother you to see them. So I will hide it as I go. Does that make sense? So you see I have just a symbol here. I'm going to leave it as is here. And I'm just going to go to the next artboard. And then I am going to go to my Polygon tool. Do you see that? You okay?
It's still not working.
Oh, the Illustrator doesn't work?
Yeah, I tried to get to the website, or I got to the website and it's not, all I get is this. It's not opening any of the templates.
You have to download it.
What?
You ever done, you have to download it to your desktop. If you don't download, if you leave it on the Dropbox or something else, it doesn't really work.
I apologize.
It's okay, no problem. But I'm going, let's say, to my Polygon tool. And right now I'm going to just click on the screen. And you see I get a radius. Why do I get this radius? You probably get another one. Maybe the last time I used the Polygon tool, this is what I got. That's what I did. Maybe the last time I did the Polygon, I did 6 sizes, right? So I'm just going to go in here and make it 10 sizes and click OK. And look what I get here. I do get a polygon. I'm going to zoom into it. And do you see what's going on in here? If I select everything, you see in the polygon here, you do have the corner widgets. So if I'm going to go and move it in, it is going to move everything for all the corners. Do you see that? So all of a sudden, look at this one. I don't have any, I mean, it's not the regular polygon, but I want you to look at your transform panel here, because that's what you see. In the polygon properties, you can add more corners right now. You can also change the look of the corners to less or more. So it's more polygon on that. And then you can go in and play with the stuff. All the way down here, it's very difficult to see. Do you see here a tiny diamond on your screen too? And if I go over it, you see a plus and a minus? If I click on it and move and slide it up or down, I can basically over here make it on the screen less or more corners. So either you do it on your transform panel, or you can go to this polygon and just do it over here. The truth is, I barely use that. I'll tell you what I use. I'm going to delete that. I'm going to start a polygon. And I'm going to start the way it is. See, I'm still drawing. Not releasing. Now what I'm doing is going to the upper arrow key on my keyboard and edit corners, or the down arrow key on my keyboard until I get a triangle. So, and this is how you can get a triangle in Illustrator. So if you have to create an icon that something in there has a triangle, you can create it either from the star or from your polygon. There's no triangle tool in Illustrator. Does that make sense? And I did it while clicking, still drawing, going to the upper arrow key, and adding anchor points. Going to the down arrow key and deleting arrow point. Does that make sense? Now I can go into the widget and look what I have now. So if you need to design, don't enter, or like, you know, the warning sign, all we need to do is the beginning of that, the right color, and you do the other sign to it, and that's it. So it's a beginning of looking at the stuff that you have. And that's kind of like a beginning. In a minute, we'll combine a bunch of them. I'm going to go to the next artboard, and I'm going to go to the star tool. The star tool doesn't have any properties in the transform panel, but while I'm start drawing, if I'm adding the upper arrow key, see what happens? Down arrow key, and then up and down. And then if I go in and click on the option or that, see, I'm gonna go in and I'm changing. So I'm gonna go in and moving, and this is what I got. It used to be a normal star. Now this is what I have here. You don't see any corner widget here. But if you go to the direct selection tool and select it, you're gonna go inside here and there are some corner widget. They're very tiny, and you can go in and go and deselect and reselect, and you might see some corner widget around the area. Let me see if I was hiding in with that. So that's kind of like what you have here. I'm just gonna go in and I'm holding down my command or control key, and look what I can do. I can change the look of my star completely, hold down the arrow key, and basically I'm gonna do another kind of triangle, but this triangle is a little different. Why is it different? Because it has more points in it. Yes. Yeah, because you did a lot of corners, so you can go in and start doing again and do less corners. If you click on it on the screen now, it can tell you exactly how many corners you have. Well, it won't respond after you did it. It is live drawing, so it will respond just when you're drawing it. So start drawing, and then now start doing that. And moving it around. Okay, click on the screen. Yeah, it's gonna do a lot, right? But just click on the release. Now click on the screen one time. You see you have 211 sides. Make it to 6 now and then start again. 211 sides, it's almost like a circle. That's where you saw all the stuff there. Does that make sense? But now I have these little guys there, right? I'm going to zoom it out a little bit. I'm starting kind of creating some stuff. Maybe I'm going to go back to just a circle, and I'm going to do here a circle. So you can see here, I do have few things, but now I want to start creating kind of symbols. And I want to create some stuff that will look in different way. And in each one, in each little artboard, we're going to go in and do something different. So let's look at the first one. Maybe we want to create a symbol that has this kind of shape, but it's divided to a lot of colors. And we said it yesterday that in Illustrator, when you do have one object, it's going to be one color. As soon as it's more than one object, you cannot do more than one color. But I want to create a symbol that has variation of colors. Maybe you can create it as an icon for a company, or beginning even as a logo. I have this guy. I want to go in and divide it to different kind of shapes. And the beginning, I'm going to use my tools, and then we're going to use a Pathfinder. So I'm going to I have an eraser tool, a scissor tool, and a knife tool. Do you see it here? I'm going to go into the knife. This is one of my favorite tools because we're going to go to the knife and we're going to see what the knife is doing to your object. Right now, if I'm selecting that, you see it's one object, and in the layers panel they call it rectangle. Do you see that? I want you to go to the knife tool and simply click outside of it and click and do stuff like that. A little drawing with the knife tool. And once you're doing it, check out what's going on in your layers panel. What happened to this shape? It became 4 shapes. Exactly. The knife is not gonna group it, but it's making it into 4 shapes right now. I just drew it, and now I can go and deselect, and if I select one, I can start going in here to my fill and maybe do this one a different color. And this guy, I'm gonna do a different color. And this one, I'm gonna do a different color. So in each area that I have, I'm gonna go in and create a different color from the stuff that I have. And then you can see one of them didn't let me do a different color, this one. Why not? Because when I was cutting it, maybe I didn't cut it all the way down. So I'm gonna check, this is this one, this is that one, this is this, and this is the little guy here. Does that make sense? So I can go to each one of them. Maybe the symbol has to be something that looks like that. And maybe the icon that you're doing it has to do something like this. As simple as that. Look at it. You already have something on your screen, and you did it only from one object. That's it. Not drawing, not copying anything, not doing anything with it. Does that make sense? Now we're going to go move into this guy. I want you to go to your rectangle tool and click and drag and create a rectangle kind of over it and make it the same color even. And then that for me looks, maybe I want to go in, and maybe this one looks like, if I select the two of them, maybe a beginning of a hat or whatever you want to do. I want to go in and make that into one object. One object. In this case, I'm going to select one, hold on the Shift key and select the other one. And I am going to go to my Shape Builder tool. If you click on Shift M, it will take you to a place with the Shape Builder tool. Do you see that? And then all what you need to do, when you go over it, do you see the plus sign? I'm going to click and drag, and look what happens. Do you see what happens here? It became one object. I want to go in and add to it something, not maybe one object. I'm going to do a circle. I'm going to select all of them. I don't want it to be one object, but I want this area to be hollow. There's nothing going to be in there. I'm going to go into my my Shape Builder tool, and while I'm in the upper area of the circle, I'm going to hold down my Option or Shift key. Do you see the minus sign? Look what happened now. This one is no color. So all of a sudden you have a symbol that looks like that. And I can move that. So I'm going to cut out stuff from here. Of course, you're going to tell me this was not straight or not centered. Because what I should have done ahead of time, I probably should have aligned it. So in order for us to align object, I'm going to take you to another sample file for a minute that I prepared for you some stuff, and we're going to go in and align stuff. We can go to File and Open. And we are going to go into the icon, and then we're going to go to Align Object. Look what you have here. I have some objects here. This is the old Apple icon, and actually we might even able to do that here, right? So I'm going to select the first one, and you see it's grouped. This one is grouped, this one is grouped, this one is grouped. I want to go in and align it. So the first thing, I want to go in and open the Aligns panel. If I'm selecting more than one object, all of a sudden you see the Align panel in your control. But I like to show it with the Aligned panel. We do have the align panel here on the toolbox. And if you don't see it, go to Window and bring the align panel. For some reason, when you bring the align panel the first time, it is collapsed. You don't see other stuff. Go to the flyout menu and say Show Options. And here you decide what are you aligning to. You see it says Align to. Click inside and say you can align to a selection, align to a key object, and align to artboard. Let's click Align to artboard. I'm going to select this little guy here, and I'm going to click on one of the symbols of the align, and I'm going to go vertical align top. Look where it goes. It aligns it to the artboard. I don't want it. I'm going to do Command Z or Control Z, and I'm going to go and say Align to Selection. In this case, I'm going to select 1, 2, and 3. I'm selecting the 3 of them. Now I can decide how do I want to align them, right? Do I want to align them all the way to horizontal sides left? It's not going to do a lot, but it's going to do something like this. Command Z. Do I want to align them all to a top? And look at that. They all align to the same top. Once I have that, I can distribute them to vertical or horizontal center, and look at this. All of a sudden, it will distribute it for me as well. Now I can say I want to align it back to the artboard and then align it to the center, and look where it goes. It goes to the center of the artboard. Does that make sense? And I can go to the other group here. I want to start aligning it to a selection, but I want to align it to this one. So after deciding, I'm going to click again on this guy. And do you see a heavier stroke around it? That aligns to an object. We tell you, you're the boss. And now if I go and do like horizontal scaling or line left, it relates to this guy. Does that make sense? This one stays there and everybody is joining him. Does that make sense? So 3 kind of align. Align to an object, align to a selection, and align to the artboard. But one thing to pay attention to, if you have a bunch of objects and they're not grouped, and you want to align them somewhere, sometimes they want to go all over the place, so you might need to select a bunch of objects and group them first, and then align to the object itself. So now I'm going back to my shapes. And I am going back to this guy. And I'm going to do Command Z, Command Z, Command Z, Command Z until I go to the area that I started. You see, remember that. So before doing anything, I might go in, align to the selection, and then align it center to center, or align it like that. And you see here, I aligned it here, horizontal center, and now the space between this side and this side are perfect. So anything that I'm going to do now with my shape builder tool, all of a sudden it's going to look a little bit different. I'm going to go to my shape builder, and now you can see, now it is kind of like perfect. Does that make sense? So what does the shape builder tool does? It will take 2 kind of images together and will apply them, and if you hold on the Option or Alt key, it will do a whole. Yes? Yeah, it's still there. We're going to look at that because that's a better one to a lot of. This is for an immediate one. But we're going to use and we're going to look at the Pathfinder, and then we're going to start creating icons. Okay? Because this is kind of like preparing us to do all kind of icons to create something. So I want you to go to File and Open, and do open the Pathfinder. And you have different samples here. This is one that has the Apple computer symbol. And this one is the final. We're going to create one like this in a minute as a symbol. But the first thing, you're going to open the Pathfinder demo. And then I put it on different artboards. So for us to look at it first, we want to go in and go and open our Pathfinder panel. It is on my layout workspace, but if you don't see it, go to Window and bring your Pathfinder panel. Pathfinder. And we're going to go to the first artboard, the second artboard, and then play over here, and then go practice on this artboard to create a symbol. So I'm going to zoom into this guy and look at this. That says select and use the Pathfinder panel. Shape modes, hold down the Option key to create a shape group. What does it mean? I'm going to go in and select. I'm going to go, let's see if it's locked. Go into the layers panel and you see one, it says shape mode and it's locked. I'm going to unlock it. And look what I'm doing. I'm going to select one, hold on the Shift key and select the other one. And the first thing we're going to look at the Pathfinder, it's the shape modes. They kind of like the shape builder tool, but this one gives you an option if you make a mistake. The other one, you have to do a Command Z, or redo it if you saved it. This one, it's letting you, let's say I'm not sure. Because the first one here is unite. What does it mean? It's going to make it to one. If I just click on it, it's united it. What if I didn't want to unite it like this? That's like the shape builder tool. I'm going to Command Z or Control Z to undo it. And before making the decision, I'm going to hold down the Option or Alt key and click. So look what happened. If you deselect, how does it look? Like you combine it to one object, right? But it's basically makes it into a group. So if you click on it, it is still a group, and the star here is still individual star, and this one is still individual. So if you're looking at your layers panel, you can see that it made it as a compound shape. So I can select just a star and still move it. I can select the star and still go to the Align panel and do something. And then I can go in and decide. If I want to leave it like this and have somebody check it first, I can leave it like this. If you want to stay, okay, I want to commit to it, you click Expand. Do you see that? Expand makes it into one path. So these guys in the shape mode, kind of like the shape builder, with another opportunity to go back and forth and make changes. So if I made it with the other one, I didn't have to do Command Z. I could have gone back and say, no, I want to move it a little bit. I want to align it, I want to do stuff to it and then work with it. Does that make sense? So now I'm going to select this guy and this guy. The next one, all of them are the same. If I'm going to go into this guy, minus front. If you hold on the Option or Alt, look what happens. That's a minus front, but I can still go just to the star and put it in the middle, and look what I have here. Now it looks at the whole, it's a compound. And now if I select it again, I can expand it. Does that make sense? Do you see how I go into the object without going to my layers panel? I double click on it to isolate. If you guys use an older version, the isolation mode did not exist. How do I do that? I'm going to go into this guy, the third one. Option click to go in and intersect. Now deselect. Now I just want to go and work on the star. So I'm double clicking on the star. And you see what I can do? I can move it around. Double clicking again. Double click. Double click again. And now that's the entire thing. And then I can expand. And then the last one, I'm going to option click on that. And the same thing, look at this. Double click. And I can go in and move it. Double click. and expand. So these guys are shapes that you can play with to create any kind of object that you want. The next one is the Pathfinder. The Pathfinder does not give you options to combine it. The Pathfinder is actually dividing it to different objects. And this is how you can do a heart, or you can do a moon, and you can do all kind of stuff, but it is dividing it to individual object. What does it mean? Look at the first one. I'm going to go in and unlock it first. And I'm going to lock the shape mode. I'm going to select the first one. I'm going to go to divide. If I click here, what happened here? It divided it to 3 objects. If I double click on that, that's one object. If I double click on that, that's one object. If I double click on that, that's one object. Does that make sense? So it is always going to be more than one object when you make a division or a divide. Everything here in the Pathfinder going to make it to more than one object. Does that make sense? All of them, like this one, it is going to go and trim it. So basically, double click. This is it. This is that. And this one, again. And this one, if I go in and select that and extrude it, and then it's going to be an outline for me. And believe it or not, even if you make it more as a stroke, every area here is divided. See that? Every area that I did something, even this guy. And this one. You see what happened? It will divide it to different kind of objects. So you do that to create a lot of stuff. And in a minute, we're going to go in and create a bunch of symbols based on a sample that we have. And I'm going to let you start playing with it. But let's click first on this one. This is my favorite one, the divide. I already made a bunch of lines here. This is the after the divide. This is before. If you select the lines and the image itself and click on divide, look what happened. Now if I double click and go in and select the color and double click and select the color and double click and select the color, I basically divided it. Does that make sense? So it doesn't have to be straight line. It could be either straight line that you divide, or you can work also with your knife tool. So let's go into the next one and do a few samples. One with the divide command, one with the, we're going to look at the eraser tool to create symbols, and one we're going to look at the Pathfinder. So all what I need you to do is just go to the empty area and go in and do 3 circles. 1 and 2 and 3. The first one, maybe I just want to divide it to different kind of objects that either I can colorize. And by the way, as soon as you divide it to object, you know, you can put type in it. That could be also a symbol with type. Type goes anywhere. Everywhere in Illustrator. So if you divide it, you click, the type goes in. Let's say this one, I just want to divide it to few straight lines and to few kind of like giggle line and then colorize it. So I'm going to go to my knife tool. If I want to do straight line with the knife tool, I'm going to hold down the Option or Alt and Shift key. And you go from outside to outside. And I'm going to click and drag. And look at that. It divided it already. I'm going to do another one. It divided it. How do I know? If I have the stroke color, I will see it. So maybe it's better even to create a stroke so you can see that you already has a division there. Now I feel like not doing any more straight lines. So I'm going to just do that. So when maybe I want to gonna create something that the top and the below that it is straight, and then the other is kind of like juggly like this. And now all what I need to do is go to my swatch panel and then deselect, and maybe the first one I'm going to leave it red. The second one I'm going to make it kind of orangey. The third one I'm going to make it green. And these guys, maybe I can make it dark blue and light blue. Think about it in terms icon, and think about it in terms of logos too. Because maybe the top one I don't want anymore, I can take them away. And all of a sudden, this guy can be a beginning for something that you're going to go and work with. Does that make sense? So from something really simple, you went and cut it out with your knife tool to create an object, to create an icon. And without even thinking about the pen tool. I think this class should have been yesterday. No, I don't know. Right? Because the other one was, I mean, we didn't know. I mean, I think this one should have been yesterday, actually. Right? I don't know. So this one is easier, no? This is harder? Yeah. Now this guy, all what I want to do is straight line, and I want to use the Pathfinder. So I'm going to go to the line tool. And for the sake of the presentation, I'm just going to go in, before deselecting it, I'm going to deselect first. I'm going to go give a stroke color, like any color. Maybe I'm going to do even black. And then I'm going to go into the line tool. And all what I'm doing is straight line. 1 and 2 and 3. See, 3 straight line. But make sure it's from outside to outside. Now I'm going to select the straight line and the circle, and then go to the divide. When you're using the divide command, automatically it becomes a group. And then when you open the group, you can see the 3 divisions that you have there. If I'm going to go in and bring the stroke a little bit, so you can see it a little bit here. And if I'm going to double click and change color and double click and change color and double click and change color, oops. I'm going to select it one by one. And then I'm going to do that. And I'm going to select this guy. So all of a sudden, look what you have here. You have a symbol here that have different kind of colors. Not necessarily they need to be like that. But, and I'm going to show you a little trick in a minute that you're going to say, wow, that's even easier. The last one is the eraser tool. And not the eraser tool, the eraser tool. What is the eraser tool doing in Illustrator? If nothing is selected, it will erase everything that goes upon it. What does it mean? I can go in and put another circle on top of that, or a round rectangle. And I'm just going to put it here. I want to go in and erase some stuff of this circle only. I'm going to select that, and now I'm going to go to my eraser tool. It looks like a regular eraser like in Photoshop. I want you to double click on it, and you can see the option, and you can make the angle and the size of the eraser. And look what's going to happen now. What am I erasing? Just the selected area. I just erased, even this one was on top of it. I just erased part of this guy. And look what happens here. This is nothing and that. So you can create wonderful shapes with the eraser tool. I'm going to do it again. The best way, actually, do you have just a circle? I want you all to go to Edit and Copy. And then go Edit and Paste in front. When you paste in front, the selected circle is just in front of you. Just go in and change the color from red to maybe yellow. Below that, you still have the red circle. Now, who's selected now? Only the yellow one, right? I'm going to go to my eraser tool. I'm going to double click on it and make the size a little smaller. And look what I'm doing. Do you see what I'm seeing? What am I seeing? The image from below. These guys, the yellows are completely different kind of yellows. The one underneath that is just the other circle. If nothing was selected and I go to the eraser tool, guess what I'm erasing? Everything across the board. So now look at that. This is one, this is one, this is one, this is one. So you can create so many looking different kind of shape using just the eraser tool. How cool is that? And then it's like you can even animate them later. You can do so many little things with them. And then you can have a little logo and all kind of stuff like these and a symbol and things like that. Does that make sense? I'm going to select the whole thing and I'm going to show you the last trick. And then we're going to go and draw some stuff. The last trick that I have here is I'm just going to go to the rectangle. Remember I divided it for all kind of stuff? What if I'm really bored and I don't want to divide it like this? I want you to go to Object and I want you to go to Path, and all the way down there's a hidden command that not a lot of people know about it. It says split into grid. And I'm telling you, even people that are power user in Illustrator, they just don't know about it. It's like a hidden command that people didn't pay attention to it. You can click on the preview. You can decide, I want to have 3 rows and 3 columns. I want to have a space between them. And a space between them. And I want to actually create something perfect, so I even can add a guide. And then if I click OK, look what happened. I do have a guide there also, and look what happens. It's all the area that you have there, and then I have basically different kind of object, one next to each other without me having to copy, and copy. Is that cool? So that's an immediate. When is it good for? For maybe prototyping and icons. It's also very good for like web design and showing people how it's going to be and where are the icons. Because each area like that, you can mask and put an image in there. Each area like this, I can go into the type and put type. So I can go back here to this guy and go in and put the type. You see that? So you can have a little icon that has all kind of stuff there, but the creation in the beginning went with the grid. Could I have done it just with copying object? Of course you can, but that's an immediate one. Does that make sense? We're going to look at other tools in a minute, but I want you to go in and do File and New. We are going to go in and create our own object. And I want to go in and I want to make it 10 by 10. Maybe it's too big, but it's okay. And click Create. And then I still have all the objects over here. I'm in the artboard. Why do I have the artboard? Because I didn't pay attention. I don't want them. Maybe I want later to divide them and make them into that. For now, I don't want them. Because I want to make kind of like the icons on one page and then make a decision. So how do I delete them? I basically go to Artboard tool and basically delete it. And it is a common mistake. I do it on a daily basis. That I made, let's say, 6 artboard for another project. And when I do a new project, I forget. I just forget. And it always would stay there. I do it every 2 seconds and then I delete it. So I'm going to go in and zoom into it. We're going to start by creating just round rectangles. And we're going to do like maybe 10 of them. So I want you to go to your rectangle tool, click and drag and create a square, and make the square maybe 2 by 2. If it's hard for you to do it perfectly 2 by 2, once you do it one time, you can go in and click all the way up to the transform panel and maybe change it to 2 by 2. So that's going to be perfect. I want to go in and fill it with a light orange. And I want to make the stroke 2 points. That's it. And I want to go to the round rectangle and make it round a little bit. And the way I made it, if I click all the way to the shape, I made mine 0.39, so it's almost like 0.4. Doesn't have to be exact. This is what I'm doing now. Now I'm zooming into it for a minute. I can do few things here. I can bring a guide to align it, or I can just go in and look at my smart guides. I'm preparing something to create icons on it. So I'm going to go in, hold down, select it, hold down the Option or Alt key, click and drag a copy. And you see here the smart guides? Up and down. If you hold on the Shift key, you see the straight line. You know it's exactly the same size, the same space. I can go and do it again and measure it, but I have a better deal for you. I'm going to let Illustrator worry for me. Once it's selected, I'm going to do Object, Transform, and Transform again. You see what happened? It did the same thing in the same space. So everything that you do in Illustrator, rotate, scale, shear, move, copy, it will transform your object again. Does that make sense? There is a shortcut for it, and you might want to remember it, which is Command or Control D. I know it is confusing. It's one of the only shortcuts that the Illustrator people, Photoshop people, and the InDesign marketing people are fighting about it, because they have, what is in Photoshop Command D or Control D? Deselect, that you do it every 2 seconds. And in InDesign is place, that you do it every second. And here is transform again, that you do every second. So they don't want to. So I'm going to do Command D again, and look what happened. Now I want to select the 4 of them. I'm just going to move it, but before doing anything, I'm going to do Object and Group. I'm just grouping them. And I want to go to my Aligns panel. And I want to go in and align to artboard. And I'm going to decide where I want to do it. I don't want it to go all the way up to the top. Why not? Because that's going to be like that. If I go back here, it's not going to do anything. So I'm going to do Command Z. And then I'm going to align to selection. And I'm just going to go horizontal center. Make sure they're in the center for each other. Now I want to do another set of them. I'm going to hold on my Option or Alt key and drag one copy. And I'm watching my smart guide and holding down the Shift key that I know it's straight. Once I have that, transform again. And all of a sudden, look what I have. I have 12 squares. Maybe I need to do 12 icons, or maybe not. But for now, I'm ready for that. I can select the whole thing and Object and Group. And then I'm going to say Align to Artboard. I'm going to do Center to Center. And now it's really in the center of my artboard. But what did I do before? I grouped them. Because if I didn't group them, they're going to squish to each other. Does that make sense? They're ready for me to put on them some object. I don't know how many we're going to do, but look what I'm doing now. I'm going to reset my layout workspace so it's going to be nice and clean. And I'm going to bring just my layers panel. And you see it says layer 1. What do I have in layer 1? A whole group, and look what I have inside, everything. I'm going to double click on layer 1 and I'm going to call it background. Now I want to lock it. Why do I want to lock it? Because I don't want it to move. I want to go to the flyout menu, say new layer, and I'm going to call that images. And now we want to go in and place some images for references for us, and then we are going to create icons based on some tools that we learned and based on other tools that we can work. So maybe the Pathfinder, maybe transform again and rotate, maybe we're going to do the shape builder tool, maybe the pen tool, the pencil tool. We're just going to, and again, when you do icons, I'm already telling you, it doesn't have to be perfect, like the icon that you're copying. It's just a reference for you to do your own thing. So I'm going to do File and Place. And inside my icon and symbols, there is a folder say creating symbols. And look what I have there, generic symbols. We might not even use all of them. We're going to go in and click, let's say, on the cold symbol. Hold down the command key and click on the radiation, the non-smoking one, and maybe the fire. Maybe for now we'll just do 4. The others ones are for you to play with. And where did I take it? From the internet. It's not even mine, you know. You can do and make it your own. And I'm going to click place. And all what I'm doing now is just clicking 1, 2, 3, and 4. I might go into my selection tool, select all of them, and kind of move them somewhere, kind of like to the center of the stuff. I'm not even worried about it because I'm just going to go and copy them. Does that make sense? I want to copy them with the Illustrator tools that I have, and then make them into vector symbols, and then you can do whatever you want from them. You can even make them 3D if you want. So what I'm going to do is select the image layer and go all the way down and say template. So look what happened. They became kind of like 50% transparent and locked. I'm going to Command Z for a minute. I selected the whole thing, went to the flyout menu and say template. When you double click on the template here, you can change the dim even to 40. You can do anything that you want. You can even place images directly as templates. The reason I didn't want to place it as template right away, because I wanted to move it. Bless you. Now I want you to open a new layer and call that vector icons. And that's going to be our job. And zoom in. And now we're going to really zoom in. We're going to zoom into the first one. And look how I'm zooming into it. I don't want to see anything. I just want to see that. So let's investigate it. Let's say we need to do that, and we need to do it fast, and then we'll change it a little bit to our own colors and our own liking. But that's the reference, because somebody told you do kind of like a cold sign. Maybe you will change it to blue and do some other stuff with it. And you want to do it fast and not My goal is, in Illustrator a lot of time, fast, accurate, and not work so hard, right? So I am looking at it and say, well, they are the same. So probably I have to do one and rotate it and duplicate it. That's all what probably I need to do. So I'm going to start working with the line tool in this case. So I'm going to my line tool first. I'm going to say no fill. And I'm going to go to the stroke, and for now I want to say maybe I want to do it dark blue. For some reason, maybe that's going to be the sign for cold dark blue, or maybe because I want to see it better than black. And I might start with 1 point. And I'm going to click somewhere, I'm figure out where the center. Again, that's my reference, so it doesn't have to be perfect. I'm going to click at the top, hold down my mouse, hold it down, hold on the shift key and create a straight line. Try to do that. Click, hold on the shift key and do a straight line. And let me know if you have that. I'm actually going to go to the layers panel and layer options. I'm going to make the layer option a little bigger so you can see it better in my layers panel. And I'm going to uncollapse the little arrow here to show you that I already have a line. Because everything that you do in this vector layer, it is, you know how it is. It's as many paths that you have within one layer. Temporarily, I want to lock it. Why do I want to lock it? Because I don't want it to interrupt me when I do some other stuff. I'm going to still on the line. And I know it's kind of a slanted line, but if I click here and hold down the shift key, you see that's 45 degrees. So it's not really 45 degrees. So I'm not going to hold on the shift key. I'm going to do some kind of degree that I think that works for me. I did one line. Do you see that? Again, just one little slanted line. Do you see it now? I want to do another one exactly for the other side. Of course I can draw it. Might not be perfect. So why don't we tell Illustrator figure it out for us? I want you all to go to your reflect tool. If you click on the letter O, it will take you to the reflect tool. It's together with the rotate tool. And look what happened, and that's what I really want you to look at your screen. Do you see a little center on the middle of the line? A tiny little dot. That's a default behavior for transformation tools in Illustrator. They think they're going to the center by default. I'm going to change that. I'm going to tell it I don't want it to be from the center to reflect. I want to reflect it from the edge. So while I'm selecting that, I'm going to hold down the Option or Alt key and click at the edge of the anchor. It says anchor, and one click. And look what happened. Let me know if it opens for you. The dialog box is opening. Click on the preview. If you click vertical, it tells you, I am going to the other side. You see what it tells you? Do you want it to go to the other side? Yes, you do, but you want to make sure the other one stays. So what do? Read the thing. Do you see the word copy? You just click copy. A lot of people, when they do that, right away they say, okay. It jumps and doesn't copy the other one. Does that make sense? So now I have the two of them. I really want them. Yes.
When I would say you select the center line and then double click it to open the tool, right?
No. Hold on the Option key and click at the edge. That's when it goes in there. So now look what I have. I have 2 lines. I want these 2 lines to be one. So I'm going to select the 2 lines. Let me know if you got the result. I'm selecting the 2 lines, holding down the Shift key and selecting the 2 lines. And I'm going to Object, Path, and Join. Do you see that? Look what happened in your Layers panel. That's why I opened the Layers panel so you can see it. Now what is it? One object. The 2 lines are one object. What else I need to do? What do you think I need to do now? I want these guys to go over to this area and flip. Once again, I'm going to let Illustrator do the job. I'm on my reflect tool, but this guy, look at this. Look where the center is. The center is here. I want to hold on the Option or Alt key and somewhere find the center at the center of the image. Not sure it's going to be perfect, but I'm trying. I'm opening the dialog box and I'm going to click on horizontal. And look what it gives me. Horizontal reflection. Do you see it? It might not be the perfect one. You can move it later. But what should we click on? Copy, right? And look what I have. Do you see what I have right now? I copied it to the other side. I cannot have the shape, right? Do you guys want me to do it again? That's the good news about Illustrator. Unlimited amount of undos. One undo, I can do it again and again and again. Not a problem. I'm going to go to my reflect tool and I'm going to option click to the center of the object. And I'm going to decide horizontal, vertical, or an angle. I'm going to do horizontal and click copy. Once I have all of them, I basically unlock the line, select all of them, and basically go object and group. I want to group it.
How did you make the opposite side come up? Did you have to have it selected?
Yeah, you have to have it selected. You go to the reflect, option click to the center of the object, and click copy. Everything in Illustrator has to be selected. If it's not selected, nothing is happening here. Does that make sense? You can be on a layer to target it, but if you're not selecting the object, nothing is happening in Illustrator. And that's the difference between that and Photoshop. Does that make sense? So look what I have here. I made a group. What should I do now? What do you think? How should I get the other?
Rotate tool.
Exactly. So I'm going to click on the rotate tool. Do you see the center? Option click to the center. And now you can start finding, and I'm going to click on the preview, and you can say, okay, I wanted this, I want that, I want that. I mean, until you can get something that you have, I might make it 50. I'm not clicking OK yet. I'm looking at the preview. Maybe I'm going to make it 60. 60 looks like almost there. Guess what I should do? Copy. What should I do now? Command D, exactly. How easy is that? And that's why using and creating icons in Illustrator, if you know little tricks, you don't have to start copying and doing everything and say, well, it doesn't match. Once you do one okay, all of it is good. Now I can select all of them and I can even group it. And then I can call it called icon. I want to go in and change the stroke to 8 and look what I get. If I make it really black, it might look the same. If I turn off that, look what I have here. Do I want to make it a little 3D now? Because it's too boring. I can go in to select the entire icon, go to Effect, 3D, and Extrude and Bevel. And all you need to do is, see, basically click on the preview and play a little bit with the extruding depth. And look what I got. It's not a real 3D, by the way. It's a pretend, but look at this. Does it look a little different? It is under Effect, 3D, Extrude and Bevel. I want to change the color to a different color. Different color, different color. How cool is that? So it started from a regular thing, and then now it became how simple it is to create this icon. I could not do 3D. I could have done something else to it. I could make it like blue cold, right? Something like that. So I can do Command Z. And then while I have it here, I'm going to go to Effect, Distort and Transform, and I might go into Zigzag. And this is a lot of zigzag over here. So I'm just going to go in and do stuff that looks like that. Ooh, I'm cold. And then I'm going to go and change that and look at that. Who said? Maybe that's a cold symbol, or maybe that's a different kind of a symbol. Does that make sense? So you can start doing something and then go back and do the other things. Does that make sense? So basically creating these little icons, it's going to let you do all kind of stuff, and you turn off that, it's all good. Effect, distort and transform, bevel that, I can click in here, and I might go in and do it 20 only in the preview, and then I might go and do different bevels even, and look at that, I have different kind of things there, and click OK, and I have a symbol, or whatever it is. Does that make sense? And of course I'm driving it crazy, so it's rendering it, and it shouldn't do it so long, but whatever it is. I'm going to turn it on again, and I'm going to move on to this one. This one is a very easy one. That's probably going to be either with the curvature tool, or with the pencil tool, or with the pen tool, basically to trace around, and this one's going to be a compound. And this one's going to be just either a rectangle or a line with a very wide stroke. So what I'm doing first, I'm locking the other symbol. I don't want it to move. And I might do first, I'm going to go into the rectangle tool and just go in and create just a rectangle. And I'm just going to go in and do no stroke and just, let's say, a blue fill. That's it. So the first one, I did it easy. Which tool do you want to trace it with? The pen tool, the pencil tool, the curvature tool? Which one do you want me to look at? The pencil tool could be a very easy one here. Because basically what you do here, you're going in and you are drawing just with your stroke and basically imitating the look of the fire. It doesn't have to be perfect. Why? Because my fire can look a little different than this fire. And if I don't like it as much, I can go into the smooth tool and just smooth it.
Yeah, so when you're using this tool,
Uh-huh.
is there a specific way you're supposed to use it?
No, just you go in, it's so random that you're never gonna know what's going on. You see what I'm doing? I'm doing like this and it's smoothing it. It's basically building more points. And I want to show you something. Look at my screen. You see I smoothed it a little bit?
Yeah.
I'm going to object and path and I'm going to a place that says simplify. That's another place. If I can go into a preview, it tells you I can simplify it to less and I can make it show the original, or I can do that and you can go in and play with the curve precision or not, and you can go in with the angle and you can change some stuff there. But I find it kind of changing your shape completely. I would use this one only when I have too many things there, and then I'm just gonna go in here and do stuff. Other than that, I don't use that. I love using the smooth tool because I'm kind of smoothing it a little bit and looking if I like it or not. Now I'm deselecting. This area here has to be hollow. It's a hole. So I'm just gonna go again to my pencil tool and look what I'm doing. This one I'm just gonna do a simple selection. And now I'm gonna select that and the outside, and I'm gonna do object, compound, or make, or I could have used the shape builder if I wanted. But I'm gonna just do a compound. I'm making a compound and look what it is. It's one object. Does that make sense? And of course, because it's fire, maybe I will select it and go over here and see if I have kind of a fiery gradient. And then maybe I'm gonna go back here and see if I have another fiery gradient. It's not gonna look great on this background, but I'm just gonna show you that you can do stuff like that. Not a very good background for this, so I might go and change my background and make it to a different color after a while. Does that make sense?
Is there a way, like, if you want to make it like this sharper, almost like I use the pencil tool to draw on fire, and one of them to the other and want to make it sharper?
Okay, yeah. I'm just gonna go back here. Let's say I'm just gonna do Command Z, Command Z, Command Z. Okay, let's say I'm going here, right? Okay, before I even did the compound, right? So I'm just gonna go in and this one. And you see here, let's say this one is too round, right? I can go into and select the anchor point. One way that you can do in the select anchor point, make it into corner over here. You see that? The other one is actually go to your pen tool area, and remember this little guy, the convert anchor point tool? This guy will, you click on something, you can make it round, you can click again, you can make it corner. It has two jobs. Round, corner, round, corner. Another thing that you can do here, do you see it's kind of corner very pointy? Why is that? I'm going to select it and I'm going to go to my stroke panel. Do you see the stroke panel have little things? How it looks, how the corners are connected. So this is connected like that, but this is connected like this, and this is connected like that. Do you see the difference? If I zoom into it, you'll see the difference. You see that? Look at this. Now it's this one. And now I'm just going to go in, select the whole thing, and then select that. You see the round? See? Select this, select that. Another thing when you do a stroke, you can go in and align it to the center, align it to inside, and align it to outside. That's another thing to take also into consideration when you draw, and especially if you prototype icons to websites and they have to be a certain image, you maybe want to do the stroke inside. Otherwise, it's going to read the pixels of the stroke, and it's not going to be accurate. You say, oh, it was 4x4. No, it's 4x. So you make sure you measure it perfectly. Does that make sense?
What was the last step you did? Sorry, with object compound?
Oh yeah, I went in and selected the two objects. So I selected the one and the second one and went to object, compound, and make. So what compound does is create a hole. It's basically like You can do it with your shape builder. You can do it also with your Pathfinder. Sorry, we're gonna put it on the board so maybe you can look at the rest of the recording, okay?
Yeah, my computer's just acting up. I'm having trouble following along. Sorry. I think I'm going to have to look at it downstairs.
Sure.
But thank you, though.
You're very welcome. So I'm gonna zoom in, and then once I did the compound, I can go in and fill it, and I have that. I'm gonna leave it like this. I want to make sure we copy this one and that one, and then we're gonna do one more thing with the stuff. So these guys look a little different. I'm gonna zoom into this one. And you tell me, how do you want to start that? Okay, first of all, I'm going to the fire and the other stuff. I'm going to group it and call it fire. And I'm locking it. How should we do this one? Make a circle. Yeah, well, you can do that, but basically, this one could be a circle. So we can start with this circle maybe with a stroke. Because I show you a little trick how you can do that and combine them together. So I'm going to go to my ellipse tool. And I want to do it from a center. So I'm going to go in and maybe do a red stroke. I'm going to hold on the Option or Alt and Shift key and kind of find the center. And then going to go and do a circle, a perfect circle. And you see, that's not a perfect circle. We're going to make it a perfect circle. So I did a perfect circle. I want to go in, I could have done like a compound in between the two circles. There's few ways to do it. Kind of do a compound with another white one and cut a hole. I also can go into the stroke and start doing like this stroke. And in this case, let's say I'm going to do it 10. And I'm going to go into the stroke and I'm going to go and do it inside to inside in the center like this, the main one. So I'm going to go do the stroke inside. This is a stroke, and a stroke does not behave anything. It doesn't want to connect. I can make the stroke look like I created a compound. Because if I created a compound, because I want you to understand, if I created a compound, I would have done one circle, right? Another little circle inside, and cut it in and have a round one. This one, I decided to do it as a stroke. I can go to Object, Path, and say Outline Stroke. And look what happened when I did Outline Stroke. It became a compound. So it's basically, instead of making it into a compound, I did it shorter. So your way was doing good, because that's what I always do. One circle inside the other one, and do that. But this case, what I did is I made it into outline stroke. So what this one is? This one is basically, so I'm going to go in here and I'm going to select that. And I'm going to do a line, a straight line from here to here. Once again, I'm going to do that 10 points. Exactly like the other one. And now I want to combine them too. So what should I do with this one? Object, Path, Outline Stroke. And now I can either go to the Pathfinder, or I can select the two of them and go to my shape builder. Or join, exactly. Either one will work for me. Did the line too, but outline the stroke, because if you just align stroke, it doesn't join other people like this. To object outline. So it's two compounds, and then now join, and now I have one sign. And this sign can be for a lot of stuff. Don't walk, don't do this. So when you start doing signs like this, I might even put it in a symbol panel just as it is, because you can always just drag that, right? And bring it on. Now I want to go and do the cigarette. The cigarette's going to be really, really simple. I'm going to turn that off for a minute. And I am going to go to my rectangle tool. and basically do a rectangle, and then I'm going to say no stroke, and I'm going to fill it with black. And now I'm just going to go back here. And here is the situation that it's so tiny, it almost doesn't let you do stuff. You see, it wants to rotate it. That's when I go to view and hide the bounding box temporarily. So did not want to do that. And now I'm just going to go back here and go and do one. And then hold down the Option or Alt key and go and do another one. And I can select the two of them and then align them if I want to each other. Oh, see where it went? It's still aligned to, yeah. It's probably aligned somewhere to the artboard. Look at them. They went in there. I'm gonna select one and select this. So that's what you have to pay attention to, because it stayed from before. So I can select that and that. I have that, and this guy can just be the line tool. I mean the pencil tool. Basically, I'm just gonna go in and do that, and then make that, and then go in and basically this is what I have. So I can select all these, and I'm gonna call that cigarette. And I'm gonna go and turn on and take the no smoking sign and just put it on top. And then if I turn off, this is what I have. Can be on top of a white background, a green background, or any kind of background on it, but I have a non-smoking sign that I created just from a rectangle and another one and another one, and that's it. Does that make sense? And I'm going to select that, group it, and call it non-smoking. And I'm going to look at my template. This one, we're going to trick it and do it in a different way. We're going to use just the Pathfinder for that. Because yes, I can go in and draw it perfectly, each area, with my pen tool. But what if we want to utilize the other tools? I want you to go lock the others, go to your ellipse tool, click somewhere on the center, hold on the Option or Alt and Shift, and kind of create a circle, a perfect circle. And you see it's copying, it's on top of that. Let me know if you have that. Does that make sense? Now I want to see how to draw. So I might go, while I have it here temporarily, I'm going to go in and say I want to make it maybe 40% transparent so I can see the others. And I am going to temporarily lock it. And I'm going to go to my line tool. And I'm going to say, let's a red stroke. And look what I'm doing. I'm going from one side to another. Click and drag to find a line. Over here. Oh, you know what? Let's just do the other circle. I forgot about the other circle. Before doing that, let's do the one inside. I'm going to go again to my circle. And in this case, I'm going to hold on the Option or Alt and Shift, and kind of create a circle. And in this case, I might make the stroke maybe 8. And I can see this one is the center. I might go and make it inside. And once I have it, I want to go to Object, Path, and outline the stroke again. So look what happened to this little stroke here. It became a compound. Do you see that? And I'm deselecting. Now I'm going to my line tool. And I'm going to go from outside to outside and figure out this is one line. You see, cutting it through the area. And I'm making it maybe one stroke. I want all of them to be, I can go in and do another one and another one, but maybe I want to go in and use my rotate tool. Doesn't have to look perfect. Option click to the center. Remembered my 60% from before. So happen it is not bad. I'm going to click copy and yep. And that's it. So now I have the lines. What I need to do now is unlock and select all of the elements here. Everything else is locked, so just this is selected, including the circle. And now I am going to my Pathfinder. I'm going to go into my Pathfinder. And I am going to divide. And I'm going to check out before I see what's going on there. And I'm going to go into my layers panel. And look what happened in my layers panel. Since I divided it, look what happened. You see what's going on there? Now I can eliminate the stuff I don't need. One way of doing it is basically because it's grouped, A, you can ungroup it. B, you can go to the direct selection tool here, go to the group selection tool. This will select an object within a group without ungrouping it. So I'm going to select that, hold on the shift key, select that, hold on the shift key and select that and delete. I'm going to select this guy, hold on the shift key and hold on the shift key and go in and make that 100%. And now I'm going to select these guys. I don't need them. They were just cut out. And I'm deleting it. And this is my circle. But if you're looking at the circle, it is contained other little guys. So I'm selecting it, just the circles. And then I'm going to go to the Pathfinder and I can do Unite. And I forgot one. And then I'm going to go in and do that. And now it looks perfect. So do you see what we're using here? We are using the Pathfinder to create an object that we have. Does that make sense? And I'm going to go in and going to call it radiation. I can go in and turn off the image. I can go into these circles and make each one a different one. I can go in and select just the area that you have and make sure there can be individual ones as I go in and play with. So I can go in and just select, go in. I'm going to unlock, let's say this, and I can select that. And then I'm going to unlock, let's say this guy, and hold down this and go in and select that. So this one is selected, and because I did it in different places, so this one is selected and this one is selected. So I can select them in 2 different places, so I might need to join them and have them in a different place if I need to. Does that make sense? But another thing that I can do is I can unlock the stuff here, all that. I'm gonna turn off that, and in the background I might go in and just select these areas. So you see these samples are selected. And now I can do file and export selections or selection. So it's export it as one thing in an artboard. Or I can do export and say export for screens. And it is gonna tell you, do you want to do one artboard, or you want to go in and create all the assets that you have. And then you can go back here and decide that you want to go in and export the stuff that you have there. But for now, we're just going to leave it as is. If I wanted to build it as one by one, I should have built it in one layer, in one area, each one of them. How would I divide it now? I can still divide it and create a new object. What does it mean? I can go into, let's say, this background, or let's say I just don't want, I just want the symbol, like this one. I want this symbol to be on a different layer. Or I want that to be on a different artboard completely. So now what I'm going to do is, I'm going to select the artboard tool, and then I'm going to click and drag an artboard on the screen. And then I'm going to make this artboard 2 by 2. And now I'm going to select this group, hold down the Option key and move it to here. I'm going to go into my artboard tool. I'm going to select that, hold down the Option key and duplicate this artboard, and maybe duplicate this artboard, and maybe duplicate this artboard. Hold down the Option key. And now I'm going to go in and select that and delete, and go in to my, go back here to the group, and then I'm going to go into my fire, hold on my Option key and copy. I'm going to go into non-smoke and copy. I'm going to go into radiation and copy. In this case, what if I wanted to now export these artboards to somewhere? So I can do File and Export and say Export for Screens. And I'm going to go into the artboard, and look what I have here. I don't want to do the big artboard. I just want to do this one, that one, that one, and that one. And then I want to go into this area, and then I can decide where do I want to go in and export it to. And I want to export it to my desktop. Create a new folder and call it Symbols, Icons. Click Choose and Export Artboard. And look what I had. It exported the artboard, and this one was smaller item. I can do it one size. And then this one has, see that? A bigger item. Look what I have. I can send that to my coder or my web designer, 3 different sizes of that, because I just had to export just the artboards. Does that make sense? So of course, when you have something like we had before as big as that, remember I had the icon from before? That's a lot of them. But if I needed to export it, I can do the same. Export for screen. And I can decide that I want to have it only in one side. And then I can decide which one I want to export. I don't need to export all of them. Yeah. It will name them with the name of the artboard. So if we named our artboards, it will name them. And then if you do the different size, it's going to tell you scale 1, 2, 3, and 4. So if this, guys, if you want to go in and make that at a scale, it's just going to do the same one. And it's going to be 1x, 2x, 3x. And now if I'm going to say export artboard, it just went in there. And you see here, this is the one I selected. It went into the area here, and I have all of them now. Because I did the other one too. But that one is, see, the one I did, it says artboard 1, 2, 3 copy. But the one they did, it has a name. We didn't name it, so we can still go in and name ours. How would we name our icons? Artboards. We can go into each artboard, and then we can call that cold. And we can call this one fire. And we can call this one no smoking. And then we can call this one radiation. And so on. And then we can go in and just export that. So if I export this one, it will have my names on it. Does that make sense? And so sometimes I'll start like this, but a lot of time I'll do that. So if I wanted to create something, I'm going to say, let's say I needed to create custom icons, and I want to create them, let's say, for mobile, and I want to make them, let's say, 40 pixels by 40 pixels. And I want to go in and gonna make it, let's say, 30 artboards, and click create. Do you see what happened? It remembers the spacing from before, and now it's ready for me to start. Each artboard can have its icon. The only drawback for that, I'm just gonna give you a little hint. When you have a lot of artboards like this, right? It is, you can see all the artboard on the screen, but if you start designing, Illustrator doesn't separate it into layers. What does it mean? It can be 30 artboards like that, and can be one layer. It can be 40 layers and one artboard. So if you want everything, let's say if I wanted to create it like in one layer at a time, right? And I'm going to go in, let's say, to this one. I'm going to go select, let's say, the cold. And I'm going to copy it. And I'm going to go back here and paste. Come on. Let's say I have that, and it's a lot bigger, right, than I want. I'm going to show the bounding box, and I'm going to make it smaller. Oh, it's still remembering the 3D. That's why it took a while. You see I have it here, right? So if we did some layer 1, if I wanted to separate the layers and the artboard, I would have to double click here and say, call it cold. And make sure this one, I called it cold also. And then I'm going to lock that, and then I'm going to have a new layer, and I'm going to call that, let's say, radiation, and do that. So I'm just going to do it one by one, or then move them around. And that's going to be the work the same. When you need that, when you need to turn on and off or lock them, it's important. Because you see what happened to me here? I made all of them together and I locked them. So now it's like if I want to go in and take the background of that and the fire, I have to go into the background. It's a whole thing. But if I did that in one layer, exactly. Does that make sense? So now I have to ungroup and do that. So there's a lot of ways to do different things while you're working with it. Does that make sense? And this is basically And we barely use the pencil tool for 1 second. Look what we used. You use the Pathfinder, we use the shape builder, we use the knife tool, use the eraser tool, use a combination to create your object. So basically, you're looking at stuff. There is another one. I'm just gonna zoom in. I mean, sometimes I use it and sometimes I don't. There's another one over here, and it's new. It's called the shaper tool. But that was done actually for people like you, that you have the surface and it's so look at that. If I'm gonna do stuff like this, see what I just did on the screen? I didn't do a circle. I went to the shaper tool and they did something like that, and it will do something like this to it. And then I can do stuff like this, it's gonna be a line. I can do stuff like that, it's gonna be, and then I think if I do stuff like this, it's gonna delete it, yeah. And then there's another place that it does inside, it's gonna see it like does a compound from it. There is a whole tutorial for this, for all the signs and all the stuff that you have to do. So I can go in now and do another one together, and then I'm gonna go in here and see what happened. Now it's a compound here, and if I do that, it's a compound there. And then I think I can go in here and it's the shape, what do you call it? The shaper tool. Click more, click on more tools. Okay, the shaper tool. I didn't understand what I wanted. Okay, that's not what I want. Okay, let's did that. So now you can see here, I have this one here, and it's basically the two of them, but it is kind of like make that. So you can do a lot of stuff with the shaper tool and then go in and erase and stuff like that. Another one that you can do is this one. I mean, this is the line tool, right? So look at this. I have a line and a line and a line and a line. There's another tool inside to create stuff called the join tool. And basically you can click inside, see? That's another trick. Oops. And it does this. No, it's called the join tool. You use the line to create that and then became one of them. And I can go in to the shaper tool. Oh, I erased it. I don't want to erase it. Okay, let's say if we can go and fill it. You can see I don't use a lot the shaper tool. I should maybe use it more because I don't have a like the screen and everything for it. But there's some people who swear by it. Yeah, yeah. I just clicked here and deleted that. The shaper tool. It's a new tool that does all kind of stuff like this. Does that make sense? And yes, if you have, there is an option, not on the Mac. I have a Surface at home. And then you can do with Illustrator, there's a touch screen for that. So you can do a lot of the stuff like the touch type. The pen. Yeah. And that's why I use this one. Because I use my tablet. Yeah. I don't go out of my house without it. I have Apple Pen, but that's for the MacBook. I mean the iPad Pro. Yeah. I use a lot of it. Yeah. Not on the iPad. There's not a complete one. There is something from Adobe. It's called the mobile apps, and you can download them and use them, and they work with. It's actually, if you can see here, okay. I don't think if I can see my apps here, but I'm gonna go into the start. I mean, I don't think I have it, but if I go in sometime, I do like my recent file, or if I go into my area here, you can see I have my Creative Cloud files, and inside the Creative Cloud files, these guys I did on the iPad and then moved it to Photoshop. And then you can export to Photoshop or Illustrator. But you have to use the file. Like, let's say this is Illustrator files, right? Uh, yeah, yeah. Well, it's very easy. I mean, you have it's let me go back here. Adobe. Thank you. Oh, I should stop the recording.